Alright, so I'm pretty sure the majority of you guys are well aware that Daniel Larson has been arrested and he's facing anywhere from 10 to 70 years in prison. And so, like many people, I assumed this was just the immediate end of the Daniel Larson story and we'd hear very little else after the fact. And you know, even if they did realize that, they may not take away his rights to call people in the outside world. However, I really thought, who was gonna pick up that call? And if anyone was gonna pick up that call, were they gonna record it? And then almost immediately my question was answered when I realized, oh yeah, that's right, Clark exists. And believe it or not, in a way, Clark is the star of today's video. And, good on you, Clark. Real good job. But about a year ago, did you think we'd get to the point where Daniel Larson YouTube videos would be mainly talking about you and your antics? Because that's what we got to look at today. Over on the Larson Leak channel, Flexburger dropped this 18-minute video where they called it the end of Daniel Larson, possibly the last time we may ever hear his voice, at least for the next few years or so. The video will be in the link in the description, and I highly advise you go check it out. But we're going to cover a lot of the stuff they talked about today, man, because in this call, Clark is basically saying his goodbyes to Daniel. They're basically making his whole world crumble around him. The entire management team, but mostly Clark, because he's the voice of them, I guess, they decided to let Daniel know that everything has been fake. Grace is fake, they are fake, everything Daniel really thinks is fake, and just to give you a spoiler, it does not sink in the slightest, at least seemingly. But it's time to stop talking about what we're going to look at and just show y'all it. So with that being said, let's get into the first phone call here. And immediately off the jump, you were about to hear Clark he's nervous. It's very clear that he's nervous, and many people who had messed with Larson are pretty goddamn worried right now. Let me tell you something, if you were one of these people in his chat room just saying oh, you're a predator, Daniel Larson, you're crazy, you're not going to get caught up in anything. However, if you were a person like Clark who spent the last 10 months almost every single day being filled with you just throwing fake little things into Daniel Larson's made-up world and spending hours upon hours on the phone with him, yeah, you probably got something to worry about right now. But all that happened over the last year, the constant phone calls, the friendship that was blossoming between these two, and it all fell apart right here on this phone call today. So let's hear it.
Okay, Daniel, I need you to listen completely for the next 10 minutes, and I need to talk to you, okay? I need you to not interrupt me, and I need you to be fucking serious right here, because this is probably the only time, it's one of the most important things I'm ever going to tell you. All of this has been, it's fake, man. I mean, I'm not Clark, I'm not a lawyer, I don't work for Interscope. Grace doesn't want to talk to you. The only reason Grace knows you is because she thinks either you're a predator and creep, and the only time you've ever talked to Tina was because she was telling you to back away. I mean, it hurts to say UCLA was fake, Interscope was fake. Every single thing that we did, it was fake. I mean, none of that was real, Daniel. I mean, and I can't keep leading you on here. And to be honest, you do need to learn your lesson. And I know we've acted like friends for the past 9 months, but really you're a sick guy, man. And I tried to give you the benefit of the doubt. Then I would see you send those to 15-year-old Sky Brown, say your things. You need to get some help. And I've been recording everything. We even worked with McDougall for a while, and I'm done. It's over, man.
So Clark is basically just dropping bombshell after bombshell on Daniel's head, and I mean, it's kind of ironic considering what he's in jail for, but you can hear the absolute silence on the other end of the phone, and you can even make out a few Chris Chan stress sighs here and there. It's the second Chris Chan reference this early into the video. That's amazing. But Daniel is clearly just he's not comprehending this. He's definitely, he understands this is bad. This is not good. Grace may not be interested in me. But if we're being honest here, and this is not a defense for Daniel in any way, I think his mind isn't, going to allow him to process all this at one time. Obviously, Clark's telling him listen, the music stuff is fake. I'm not a real friend. Grace isn't a real, she's not a real love interest. Tina hates you. And these are all things that Clark should have been telling him and beating into his head 10 months ago when these two started talking and all that. But now we get this phone call where it seems like it's only here for Clark to save some face, to be like, hey, Daniel, I was never, honest with you. We're not friends. Don't call me anymore. To try to, mend a rift between them so Daniel doesn't actually think they're friends. But it's, again, way too late for that because you spent 10 months not even buddy trolling someone. You were just his fucking friend. And that's what I think is so, confusing to all these people. You're not a troll if Daniel looks at you as the only person he can call when he's in trouble. I mean, yeah, you were leaking the calls online for everyone to see, and yes, you were probably being incredibly dishonest the entire time, but you still sat there for months on end just coddling this guy every time he needed you to, and that's gonna come back to bite you in the ass now. I don't really think he knows how bad this phone call could make him look. Could Daniel use this as some type of defense with this guy proving that all they've been doing is pushing fake ideas into his head for the past year? But I'm not a lawyer nor a law expert, so I don't know how they're gonna look at this call.
There isn't anything else to say. I've been lying to you. I've been faking fucking everything. Grace doesn't even know if she knows who you are, she thinks you're a weirdo. And yeah. I mean, and I get some circumstances, but at the same time, you really are a menace to the streets of Colorado. I'm a 20-year-old kid from St. Louis in community college, and I know literally nothing. So, I am going to say I won't be answering any more calls anymore. This is probably the last time we'll ever talk. But you don't. That's the thing, Daniel. You keep convincing yourself, Grace and all that. It's not, she doesn't want you. I've never talked to her in her life. How do you think all our calls end up on the internet too? I mean, you're fucked, and it's over, I'm sorry, not really at the same time, because this has been the fucking weirdest 10 months of my life, and I've had to been talking to a pretty much pedophile for that whole time while also hurting my image. I even got fired from my fucking job in real life for this, Daniel. So, no, I'm in the middle of the most important call of my life right now.
To be honest, I kind of knew that you were trolling. And that's why I kept questioning everything.
I mean, I'm sorry. I know Daniel's the topic at hand here for the video, but the fact that Clark sat there and went, this has been the worst 10 months of my life. I've just been sitting here fucking with you, trying to make this sound like it's so unimportant. But then when someone walks in, he quickly mutes and tells them, hey, I'm on the most important phone call of my life right now. You be careful. Are you serious? And again, don't get me wrong. All the stuff he's telling Daniel is stuff that needs to be in Daniel's head. But he's not comprehending this. Things have gone way too far. I mean, there was a part in there where Daniel said that he was kind of aware that everything was trolling and that he was always questioning everything. And I bet you he was, because somewhere deep down in Daniel's mind, he knew that there was something off about this whole situation. But he doesn't know how to articulate that. He doesn't know how to outright say, hey, you're fucking with me. Where is Grace Vanderwall? Why does she always keep changing phone numbers? But it's Daniel. He's so delusional that he has to convince himself that he does have some type of future with Grace, or else all else is meaningless. And I guess the best way for me to sum this up is that without the troll's influence, Daniel would still be a massive danger to society. Even without people beating ideas into his head, he was always going to be doing and saying insane shit. I mean, most of the stuff with Grace, his infatuation with her and everything, happened before troll involvement. A lot of the stuff he said about minors happened before troll involvement. The Pinterest and all that wasn't on the trolls, that was on Daniel. But there's always a reason why these guys are being investigated as well in and they're all freaking out about it, and it's because you know this is a mentally ill man who is like so far gone that you can say anything to him and he'll basically either believe it or go ahead and do it, and you guys have been using that to your advantage for quite a while now. Let me give you an example of this. Last year, Daniel Larson was in New York, and he was only there under false pretenses that Grace Vanderwall was going to be there. So for one, you got this guy to go all the way across the country on a lie, which again is kind of hilarious considering it's Daniel Larson. But then he went to a bodega, right? And at that bodega, he started freaking out at the owner, and all the while he's recording it to like a Discord group chat, and they're all seeing this and telling him what to do. You got this girl telling him to spit on the bodega owner and all this stuff. So yes, these are things that Daniel is making his own choice to go out and do, but these people constantly getting in contact with him and telling him to do this where there's actual proof of them doing it, it's not gonna look good for them. And the craziest thing about all this is, that's only the stuff that was posted to YouTube. Could you imagine the amount of people and the amount of trolling that went on in that Discord or in Daniel Larson's text messages, like just alone? I mean, dude, I can't imagine what people were telling this guy. And the fact that the feds got his phone and all these people are losing their minds makes me think that there's a whole lot of stuff people told Daniel that they're just praying doesn't get out there right now. But only time will tell with that one. So in the Larson leak video, again, that I highly recommend you guys go watch, it's down in the link in the description below, they talk about how after this, Bob got in contact with Clark, basically defending Daniel, and letting Clark know that Daniel had apparently gotten into a fight and that he really wanted to talk to Clark. Now, Clark basically ghosted everybody, but then after a few days, he reluctantly came back and did do the final phone call, which we're about to listen to now. But here's the thing, he doesn't even ask about this alleged fight. He kind of just asked Daniel for an apology from everybody, which, I mean, who gives a shit about that? I'm trying to learn about Daniel Larson's prison spats. But so then these text messages drop, where Bob is texting Clark, and presumably Clark had said something to Bob, but he edited it out up above this one, and Bob responds to Clark by saying, "Sorry, last time. I told him that you were going to cut ties. He says he wants to apologize and hear your concerns. He said he wants to have a talk man to man, whatever that means." There, I relayed his message to you, and I told him that this is the last time. I understand your concerns, and I'm not trying to change your mind. It is your choice and understandable. Thanks for your previous contact with him. So from this, we can gather that Daniel still is in contact with the real Bob Proctor, and honestly, a lot of people, including myself, and maybe I'm the one who even started this whole thing, but I was for sure that for the longest time it was just fake Bob Proctor, some dude pretending to be Daniel's father figure. But you know what? Bob is still in the picture, and despite all those times of Daniel just teeing off on him in the car together, Bob doesn't want to let this dude go. And it's because he does have some attachment to Daniel. I guess he does look at him as a son. I mean, look at how he's talking to Clark in this text message. You know, it's on you, but thank you for your previous contact with him. It's clear that Bob may not be fully aware that Clark is a troll, but he's an old man. I doubt he understands a lot of this stuff that's going on when Daniel's talking about Discord servers and subreddits. I imagine if he cares this much about Daniel, he's looked this stuff up before at least, but I still don't think he really understands the gravity of what's going on and who these people he's talking to are. Another screenshot was then dropped where Clark asked, "Did Daniel say he got into a fight in jail or with me?" And then Bob says, "I took it that he had a fight in the jail. If he actually did have a fight, it couldn't have been much. There was no indication that it disrupted his phone use." So, honestly, I don't think Daniel got in some big knockdown, drag-out fight with his cellmate over Daniel smelling bad or doing some weird shit. It was probably just an argument he got in with somebody that was enough of a disturbance for Daniel to have to bring up to Bob. I imagine this took place in the phone call where Bob says that Daniel said he wanted to talk to Clark man to man, and again it just shows that Daniel really didn't understand anything that Clark said in that first phone call. He didn't understand the fact that Clark said this was all fake. Daniel still thinks he can repair this relationship, and you will see that a lot in the second phone call we're about to listen to. But before that, Bob sent out one more text that said he said nothing was accomplished. He said he's being held until a mental health evaluation. He said the appearance got leaked. Those were most of what he said. I assume he's being held until a mental health evaluation is like happening because of the fight and all that. But him bringing up the appearance getting leaked was that Daniel was supposed to have court, I believe, today, and it got out there on the Reddit and people were talking about it and they must have moved it. So I'm not sure if that's exactly what it means, but that's at least what I interpreted it as. Look, last week's Daniel Larson video got me getting the whole flight risk thing all wrong, so I'm going to be real careful with what I say here. But these text messages from Bob to Clark show just how much like goes on behind the scenes with these people. Like, Clark is sitting here texting Bob fucking Proctor, of all people, the guy who like really went to bat for Daniel after his grandmother died and supported him. And like, how deep are you in this shit if you're texting fucking Bob? Like, and these guys act like it was so insignificant, their time with him. Absolutely not. Like, you guys are in the deepest of waters. And listen, I don't know if I brought it up at all in this video, but Daniel Larson apparently plans to plead not guilty to all these charges with all his threats and all that. Now, this is despite there being like video evidence, text evidence. I guess the defense is going to be these people, like they kind of coerced him into doing it, but just wow. I really hope that happens, because the amount of just courtroom lunacy that will be going on with Daniel Larson may be something of legend, but we'll have to see what happens when that happens. But this story we're talking about today is still far from over, because after these text messages were all like happening, I guess, Clark decided it was time to call Daniel again. So he did, and now this phone call you're about to hear right here is possibly the final time we're going to hear Daniel Larson's voice for a very, very long time, because Clark is one of the only people that Daniel was in contact with who was willing to like record it and put it online. Bob Proctor sure as hell isn't going to be recording his calls and making a YouTube channel. If he does, then Daniel was right all along that Bob was just trying to go for his fame, but I highly doubt that's not going to happen. So for the time being, it looks like this is the last we're going to hear from Daniel for quite a long time.
Hello?
Hi, Daniel.
Hi.
Okay, so
Sorry, before you say anything, I want to tell you that I am extremely sorry, and I want to try to fix our friendship.
I mean, it's not just, I feel like you have a lot of people to say sorry to, mostly, not just me, more like Bob and the restaurants and all the people that, even Grace, in a way, for tormenting her and her family for the past couple years.
I agree, and I will take the blame, but I want to fix everything. You know, we all make mistakes, and, you know, we all make mistakes, and it's how we move forward that matters, right? And it's how we make progress.
I agree, and I know that Bob's been talking to you recently, so I hope you said sorry to him and everything, because I'm surprised he's even still talking to you after everything that went down.
I understand.
So if it isn't obvious enough what Daniel is doing here, he's basically just finally realizing that he's about to lose Clark, someone he looks at as like an actual friend and somebody who he thinks gets him out of a lot of trouble. And he's telling him that I can change, I can fix things, I'm so sorry. Daniel doesn't even know what he has to fix. Daniel is just trying anything to hold on to this friendship. You hear him say there that we can repair this. He didn't understand a damn thing that Clark said the other day, and he's about to make that even more obvious in what he says next. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is what Clark said in the beginning, when he says you need to apologize to Bob, you need to apologize to the and then he stops and says to the restaurants, and he keeps going on. The reason he didn't say dine and dashers is because a lot of the times I'd guarantee you that they tried to get Daniel to dine and dash. Again, not defending Daniel at all. He probably did it a lot of times on his own when he didn't have money and wanted something to eat. But we had heard Daniel before say that Bob is texting me to leave the place without paying. what the fuck? And like, obviously that's not the real Bob Proctor saying that, but I don't think that's something Daniel would just come up with on the fly and be like, Bob's telling me to do this, I don't want to do this. He would always like air his problems publicly on his community tab, so whoever was the fake Bob was probably telling him to dine and dash. Maybe I'm taking Daniel Larson's word too seriously, but I'd imagine that's why Clark doesn't want to bring it up, because a lot of times they were the ones just kind of pushing Daniel to do a lot of this stuff. Again, not defending Daniel, but it is the truth. These guys were in contact with him all day long.
And, you know, with Grace, I also understand what you said about it.
And that starts with me being honest too, and I regret even all the fake Graces and all that. Yeah, that wasn't right to do for Grace too, because I don't know her in real life, and I know she was probably not happy with people pretending to be her for the past couple years. So that does start with us too. But I mean, the way you took it was a little too far in some ways, and I mean, and I do think
I do agree.
Yeah.
You know, we've been in contact for so long now. You know what I mean? I want us to be friends.
I mean, you do understand everything I told you, though, in the last call. Like, all of this has been pretty much made up. I know it's hard for you to know, but you got to realize that before the trial, before they think you're crazy.
Right, and, you know, I agree.
I mean,
and I do have to say that I do kind of know I do know what my public defender is going to ask tomorrow, but I don't know if they're going to approve it this time or the next court date. But I do know that we're making progress in the right direction.
Okay, well, I think this was a good conversation, but everything starts with a couple sorries here and there. Do you have anything that you want to say to, like, everybody out there? Like, because I'm guessing people are going to get these phone calls through that, so you should, if you want to explain yourself to everybody on Reddit.
You know, what I want an apology to the entire fan base, and not only his fan base, but I want, you know, an apology going out about the leading of the phone call and stuff like that.
And just everything, even Sky.
Like literally everything at this point. You know, I mean, if we go into detail, it's going to be way too much right now.
True.
You know what I mean? And we're on a timed phone call with, you know, money going through. I'm to a point to where, like, I want to try to fix this with everything, and I want the real truth to be heard.
And the truth will be heard, Daniel, so I gotta go, but...
And so with that, he hangs up the phone, and that could be the last time we hear from Larson for quite a while. And again, it's a good thing. Daniel should not be in the public eye, and I can already see the comments of people telling me that I'm very upset about this because I won't be able to talk about Daniel anymore. But trust me, ladies and gentlemen, I won't lose a wink of sleep knowing that this little danger is off the streets. Now, though, we got to talk about another thing here. The fact that Daniel, he thought that when Clark brought up an apology, Daniel clearly thought that this apology was going to be to him from the community. Daniel says, you know, I want an apology sent out to all the people and all this for the leaking of the phone calls and everything. When he first said it, I thought he was going to be the one to say, yeah, I'm sorry to all those people, but no, Daniel believes that he has been wronged, and to everyone who leaked his calls and got him in this situation, screw you. And again, I know I've been going at these buddy trolls or whoever they are, if you even call them that in this video, but Daniel, you did this to yourself. All these times you talked about wanting to do terrible things to government, like buildings and all that, I'm pretty sure people weren't like, hey, go say this. Hey, Daniel, go say this exact thing right now. We've heard you say it from your own mouth without the trolls being there to tell you to do it. But honestly, we don't know what was going on in those calls with people or the text, all the text anyway that Daniel had, because he would leak some of them, but I can't imagine the hundreds he would get a day from people posing as like other randoms in Daniel's life. So we'll never fully know the truth, and Daniel not being around to talk about it, it's just going to make things even more blurred. And honestly, even if Daniel was around, I highly doubt we would get like the truth from him about what was going on. He'd be more focused on trying to win back Grace. and it doesn't seem like anything Clark said to him sunk in. Daniel just wants to try to start over, make things better. He thinks that everything that was going on in his outside life is exactly what he's going to walk back out into. Try to fix things with Grace, fix things with Clark. He doesn't understand that it's a troll. He just thinks that everyone's mad at him right now for being in jail or some shit. And that's where we leave off with the story of Daniel. But if I was Clark, I'd be real careful because his story could be starting sometime soon. I've heard from people that he's over on Reddit right now just going back and forth with people over this Daniel Larson situation. I mean, if you've ever had any words for Clark, apparently that's where he is, so go let him know. But, it's, dude, like, this guy came out about how he gets drunk at work because of all this stuff going on. Like, so you're drinking at your job because of Daniel Larson? Like, is this real? Like, is this happening right now? Like, we got guys that are so sad about this situation and claim that it means nothing to them. Yet, you know, they're getting fired because of this. You're so entrenched in Larson lore that you lost your damn job over it. But actually, don't worry, Clark clarified over on Reddit that he was just lying about that and that everyone else is just dumb. So, with that being said, I really don't know what else to talk about with Larson. I've covered him now for about 2 years, and if anything more comes out, you guys know I'll have it on lock for y'all. But for now, we just wait. And that's the best thing about it, because where this dude is, he deserves to just wait and wait and wait as the years go on, because Daniel's done a lot of terrible shit, and it's good to see him finally getting justice for it. So, my friends, I am out of here, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Too High for Stupid this week is going to be an all-timer over on Kiwi's channel. It's going to be an entire weekend out of it, my friends, so I hope you can stop by and check it out. It's a podcast we do every week, and, you know, until the next time, I hope you guys stay safe, and I'll see you then. Take care.